Welcome back to the channel. Today we're working on the 99 Dodge Dakota RT. If you saw from the thumbnail, it's finally time for boost. We're going twin turbo, using Maxpeedingrods GT30s. Hopefully they last. If not, everything will be ready to upgrade to a more expensive set of turbos. But for now, it's going to work. Last video was a dyno after the new cam. It made 365 horsepower and 370 foot-pounds of torque at the tires. And I really wanted to get that out because I really wanted to get started on turbo stuff. So today is what we're going to do. I've already kind of started on the headers, so I'll go back into a little bit of that, and then I just wanted to catch you up on all the parts I have before we really get into it. Let me show you what I got. First thing you're going to see after showing you all the parts is me modifying these eBay headers. They are 1.5 inch primary size. They're kind of small, but I don't really think it's going to matter for turbo manifolds. So I moved the collectors from where they were, shortened the lengths on both of them, and my plan is to leave them just as they were, only turn them around. So I'm not going to flip them upside down, they're just going to be facing forward. So I've got those. I've got the V-bands for the up pipes to the turbos. I've got two GT30s right there. I've got this intercooler, dual in, single out, so 2.5, 2.5, 3 inch out. And I've got this Spectre air hat. So that'll take care of most of the cold side. I've got another box of pipes. There's another box of 2.5 inch aluminum tubing. There's a bunch of 3 inch tubing sitting in the back of the truck from a previous project. So hopefully I have enough. I didn't know what angle of approach I was going to have. So this is a 4 inch in. And I'm using 3 inch pipes, so I got 3 inch to 4 straight, 3 inch to 490, 3 inch to 445. So whatever I need, I can do. I don't have to. I don't really want to have to compromise too much on my setup. Now, coming out of these with the V-bands, plan is to just run 90s up. And then I ordered these nice T3 flanges. They're covered in metal right now, but they're already machined out nice and easy, so the 2.5 just sits right in there. I don't have to flatten anything out. I don't have to play around. I can just get everything set up, cut, and weld it, instead of having to try to get that in the vise, heat it up, and hammer it into a square shape. It's already done for me, so I spent a little more money just to not have to do that crap. External wastegates, 44mm. This is all cheap stuff. Nothing here is expensive. My experience with these from Amazon, I had a 92 Nissan hardbody with a cheap turbo. I ended up getting a decent turbo for it, and then it lasted for a long time until I sold it. I never had a problem with the wastegate or blow-off valves or anything, so feeling fairly confident. It's at least set up so we can upgrade later. Turbo outlets. Go to these. This will bolt on and adapt it to a 3 inch V-band. Already has some 3 inch V-bands, so I'll use these to go with this. The only problem is how thick this is. It kind of rides up on the clamp a little funny. So I think I'll put this in my little mini lathe and I'll cut it down a little thinner. There's a little bit of a ridge right there, so I think I can come in and cut it a little bit and give it a register, kind of like these 2.5s are. They've got this lip on it, so they can kind of lock together and stay centered. So I want to kind of do that with these, and then tile knockoff blow-off valve. Nice and shiny and pretty. I've got the same one on the Jeep that was also on my turbo truck. It's fine. What else have we got? I think that's about it. I've also got these drain lines, pressure lines. Nothing complicated. This is just another cheap set. I tried not to go too cheap on this because I'm hoping not to have problems, but usually these cheap AN fittings are so soft that they take nothing to gall up, and then they're useless. But you do get like the brass tees, and the pressure lines are probably fine. So you kind of, when you buy things like that in that price range, you don't really know what you're going to get. It doesn't bother me too much. I think I'll be fine. I work at a place that deals with hydraulics, so if I want to make myself some nice lines, I'll just use their fittings. Not the end of the world. The biggest thing I needed this for, and I hope these are going to be alright, if you can see this fitting here, this is to weld onto something for the drain line. My thought right now is I think I'll have room on the timing cover. I'll have to pull the timing cover off, drill holes, and weld those in. I'm not going to do that till we get turbos mounted. It's probably going to be a two-part video, maybe 3. I may just knock it all out in one. We'll just see how long it gets drawn out. So that's probably going to be the biggest pain in the ass, is getting timing cover off. Not the end of the world. I'm going to run the downpipes to the exhaust I already had on the truck. It does have chambered mufflers eventually. If it makes enough power on low enough PSI, I don't care. I'll leave it alone. I didn't go torque storm because I wanted to use my I didn't go torque storm because I really didn't want to use a supercharger on this, because with turbos there's no real loss. So on the supercharger you can make the same power, but I think torque storm said it takes 47 or 50. There's a certain amount of horsepower to make that thing make power. So if you're putting 400 or you're putting 500 of the tires, you would be making 550 if it wasn't for the tax for that supercharger. And since I'll be running on pump gas, that 50 horse, that's my margin of error for tuning and for pump gas in different places. I don't want to run 85. I don't want to have to run water meth. But I do want to make 500 plus horsepower. So for that reason, I stayed away from the supercharger. I can, with the turbos, I should be able to ramp boost in after peak torque. I should be able to ramp it in, keep that torque up, and then still keep it safe enough to not detonate and explode. That's to be determined. We'll find out. I think that's pretty much everything I got here for it. So we're going to lead into me modifying the headers. They're done now. They are not. I used a stainless MIG welder, and I didn't do a lot of prep. It's not the most beautiful, but it is sealed. So I'll show you that, and then we're just going to get to taking the old long tubes off, start fabbing stuff up. Let's get after it. Oh, hang on. One more thing. Power steering pump. I've got the pump and the bracket off of a 318 in a Jeep ZJ. Since these are facing forward, it would run right into the power steering pump. And these on the ZJ, this sits right in front of the cylinder head. This is going to stick out the side a little bit, but not as bad. I'll show you that when we swap it out on the truck. Also, if it really came to it, I could take this reservoir off and remote mount a tank somewhere else, and this just stays nice and low profile and out of the way of the pipes. Alright, now we'll get after it. here's where we're at on what's going to be the passenger side. I've got this cut. I had to go and get some get a hacksaw so I can get the blade in between the tubes so I don't have to cut this or cut the flange. So I've got it cut down, hammered this out a little bit. I'm gonna have to hammer it out some more to make it a little more forgiving, and then once you start tacking it, you can heat it up and start tapping these back in with a hammer where they need to be. But I think this is ultimately gonna work. I've still got to I'll have to cock it over just a little bit when I weld it to keep that far enough away from the tube where the V-band's gonna be. But all in all, I think this is going to work. I think this header will be done very soon. So I'm going to do a little more work. I'm going to have to fill this in. I could have used the one that came out of it, but I ended up grinding it out. So I'm going to have to make one out of something. I'll probably use, oh, that'll work. The old tube off of it. I'll probably just cut it out of this, weld it in the center, and patch as much of this as possible. I'll probably end up taking this to work when I'm done. I'll tack this on after everything's... I'm just going to leave everything tacked as much as possible. Tacked enough to hold the weight of the turbo. It'll end up needing supports. This is... the header tubes are actually fairly thick, which I'm surprised because it's eBay. This stuff's not super thick, but it should be alright. In case we need to move anything later, it'll end up getting supports. But I'll probably get... I don't have a MIG welder here, but I think I can just go buy a roll of stainless and weld it with the MIG welder at work. That'll make this a breeze once everything's actually where it needs to be. Because if you've ever built headers, if you really spend the time, you can get everything super tight. I'm not really worried about it. This needs to be welded on a little bit crooked, which means there's going to be gaps on one side, and the MIG welder does not care. So let's keep after it. Here we are, ready to tack them on. This one I had to hammer out a little more to make it fit. This one I'll probably have to do some playing around. But I got that, and then I've got 2.5 inch V-bands. And that should work out pretty good. Tight, but good. So I'm gonna get to tacking these together. Here we are. We started out with the eBay garbage, and now we've got modified eBay garbage. So this one will be on the driver's side, like that. So I'll have just as much spark plug wire clearance as it ever had. I'll just get some stainless MIG wire, take these to work. I need to make me a punch that's rounded off on the end so I can hammer these in. Also, they've got a regular torch. I've got some propane torch here. I'll heat it up and knock all these in some more, lessen the gap, and then weld the crap out of it. This side's tight with the clamp. Oh, that clamp's still warm. Ow. This side's really tight. I think I took a screwdriver. If I hold this here, I could probably just push it in. Yeah, so it's tight, but it works. Well, that's probably gonna be it for this section.